Well, listen, the problem is that you can take any dynamics of these sorts of situations and turn them into any sort of conspiracy whatsoever at all. In fact, every dynamic of technology is a direct reflection of emotion, ultimately. Yeah. You have to think about it because it's through the dynamic of emotion that you're creating this illusion that you call the physical reality. Right? Let's get too crazy about the dynamic or anything. In other words, especially in circumstances like this, where you have a number of disparate energies coming together in a certain way that is causing a great deal of upheaval, a great deal of change in that sort of way. That is more of an example of the emotional tenor, the emotional state of those that actually live within that dynamic of that area. In fact, in fact, is there weather modification? Absolutely. Has it been around for decades? Yes, absolutely. Did it start with cloud seeding? Yes, absolutely. And it has to do with HARP, which is an attempt for them to put electromagnetic energy into the atmosphere and see if that changes things. And so there have been many experiments for many years that have been going on along those ways. Hey, you can take this, if you really want to get into conspiracy theory, why not just say it's the archons that are trying to change the dynamics of the planet in order to be able to live here and get rid of you guys? They just want the planet, so they just keep, making things worse and worse. Or, it's more than likely a dynamic of a cycle that is occurring. And if you go into the dynamics of archaeology and all of that, you find out there's about an 11,800 year cycle that tends to happen. That, if you go back 12,000 years, in your special history, you don't find very much. You don't find very much evidence of an advanced civilization that actually existed before that time. So, again, and in a way, as a species, that's where you are again. This is like the karmic tape loop has come around again one more time, and earthly humanity, with its increased understanding, because do realize that with the onset of the internet, 1980, 1990, but really certainly by the year 2000, where computers were getting into that place and your brains were beginning to change. You were beginning to move from a dynamic of kind of an analog existence where, everything was analog. Which had a lot of subtlety, a lot of emotion, a lot of energy, a lot of discernment, and you moved into a dynamic of digital reality where you had ones and zeros. And it's either yes or it's no. It's either black or it's white. So, in so many ways, it was a dynamic of a retention, a desire to retain your adolescence. 9/11 also is a dynamic of a dynamic where you retained your adolescence. You had an opportunity with 9/11 to shift and change the energy, your energy as a species, all right, but you chose not to. You're either with us or you're against us. And those guys that tore these buildings down will hear from us. And no one was looking for the underlying real causes of the dynamic, you know. Those of you that were working with us back in those days, remember, we would basically ask, you know, and get in a lot of trouble because we would say there were no innocents because no one lives or dies by accident. And we remember the shrieks in the room. Well, what about the cleaning ladies and people that well, yeah, you know, it's a collective dynamic.
That was on 9/16.
Yes, yeah, we happened to be scheduled for a session in New York City on the 16th of September 2001. So we were there the next weekend.
Yeah, we were.
Well, but again, it's all that whole dynamic. Now, the result of the upcoming election may precipitate a dynamic that, what shall we say, disables a lot of that energy. It depends.
How so? Which?
Oh no, we're not going there. Why would we? That's right. Why would we deprive you of the adventure of discovery here? You know, this is the dynamic. You're on the cusp of a big shift in energy. All right. Remember what we said to you?
Yes.
The first of the year, you're not going to recognize anything.
I thought it was March. Now it's up to the first.
Well, the first of the year. March is going to be real big, but that from January 1st
to
March 31st.
All right, you're saying we're not going to recognize anything by January 1st, so
well, things are going to have changed dramatically.